Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Badger Breakdown. I'm Mike Lucas from UWBadgers.com. I'm joined by the voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay. An exciting year for college football overall with the advent of a 4-team playoff. And a lot of excitement on this campus knowing the Badgers are going to be matched against one of the better teams in the country, a heavyweight from the Southeast Conference, in LSU in its opener.
Yeah, here we go. Go big or go home. Each of the next 3 years, with LSU obviously coming up this week, and then Alabama next year, LSU at Lambeau in 2016. So yeah, you're right. It's a season of change. College football playoff. Big Ten gets bigger, and now the East-West divisions with Wisconsin obviously in the West. So, but there's that old line, go big or go home, and that's the way these guys are going to start the year. They're going to start by going on the road and taking on a very good team from the Southeast Conference.
Matt, do you like the idea of finding out where your weaknesses are, knowing perhaps what kind of strengths you might have for a season when you're matched against this type of an opponent?
As a fan, yes, it's fun to see this kind of a game right off the bat. I would guess most coaches, if they had it their way, you'd rather have a team that maybe you could beat by not playing your best in week one, and then week two you jump up and you play a team like LSU. But from a spectator's point of view, I think this is a game that has had people talking throughout the course of the summer. Another chance for a Big Ten SEC matchup. So yeah, the fan of me gets excited about this.
And I think a lot of people this year are extremely excited about Melvin Gordon and what he can bring to this team in so many different facets, because if you listen to the coaching staff, they've been really impressed the way Melvin's handled his business off the field during this training camp.
It's been fun watching a guy like him grow, because people now ask him about the freshman running backs and what they need to do and the kind of things that they're going to run into as a freshman. It's exactly what Melvin had to deal with, a few years ago, watching him in his first training camp here. But he is as driven maybe as anybody. That's not to say that there's anybody on this team who isn't driven, but he would remind himself over the course of the off season, things he would like to be able to accomplish this year, and what's there, knowing there's a playoff, knowing they have LSU right away, knowing that as good as he is as a running back, he could get better still. And he was the kind of guy, it seemed like if there was a down moment, he would go work out or do whatever he thinks was necessary to make himself a better player and get ready for this season.
It's kind of nice knowing as well that Melvin Gordon is in a one-man gang or one-man show, because Clement showed last year that he's ready to get more carries.
He is. Corey last year got off to a great start in those early games, getting a couple of 100-yard games. Now as the season went along, you had Melvin, you had James White, you had a great combination. But yeah, I think Corey Clement is ready to have a very good sophomore year and then keep growing from there. But I mean, we even saw it last year as a true freshman. He's really put together. And he's put together and then some now. So he knows that it's time. And he learned everything he could learn by playing some and watching some, obviously with Melvin and James. Now he's ready to get some more touches, and I think we're all eager to see what he can do with it.
Every coach during the offseason is looking for his leadership to emerge. You count on seniors. In this case, this year, Rob Havenstein has really taken over some of the responsibilities left by the graduating seniors.
Yeah, another guy has been fun to watch grow, and with him, he's a big guy to begin with, but he's put together very well, and someone who I think maybe kind of observed from guys like, if it was Karimi or Moffitt, how they led, a guy like Kevin Zeitler, who was maybe more of a quiet guy during the course of his career, but a very good lineman now in the NFL. And now it's Rob's time. And it was interesting, you and I were doing a show with Gary Anderson before the bowl game, and he talked about how, okay, here are the seniors. Here are guys like Borland and Jared Aberderis and all those seniors who are getting ready to move on. Now, you younger guys, it's time for you to move up a few rows in the meeting rooms and take over that leadership responsibility. And a guy like Rob Havenstein has taken that to heart. I think for an offensive line that has a chance to be really good to begin with, if you're looking maybe for an anchor, I think you can look to a guy like Rob.
And on defense, it's been well documented. The Badgers must replace the front seven. But you start with a very underrated player in Warren Herring, who's kind of going to anchor that group.
They have some versatility with him. He can play the nose, he can slide over in their defense. Another guy who's emerged as a leader. I think this group is going to be an athletic group and fun to watch as time moves on here this season. It's young, and it's going to get tested right away against an LSU team that, if it plays the way it normally plays under Les Miles, they'll try to ground and pound you. Now they'll do some other things, but it'll be in for a good test. But I think it's going to be a group that can move well collectively. Is there a Chris Borland in the linebacking core? Probably not, but there isn't a Chris Borland in any linebacking core. But collectively, I think these guys are pretty confident that they can get a lot done.
And I think we've both been encouraged by what we've seen out of Vince Beagle and Joe Schobert and the types of players that they can be as far as having an impact.
Yeah, it's interesting. A guy like, especially with Vince, we saw it in spurts last year and talking with Coach Anderson about him. I mentioned that, hey, this guy could really be exciting to watch, a disruptor, and Gary was saying he needs to be that. And I think he can be that. He's somebody who can get to the quarterback, who can disrupt offenses in a variety of ways. I'm really looking forward to watching number 47, Vince Beagle, play this year.
And in singling out the leadership on offense with a Melvin Gordon and Rob Havenstein and others, you can't ignore Michael Caputo on defense.
Yeah, another guy who acts through his actions probably a lot more than his words, and we've seen a lot of very good leaders do that here. Borland, I don't know if he said a whole lot. He would joke around a little bit, but when he had something to say, everybody listened. And Caputo, I keep thinking back to the game last year against BYU, and Gary Anderson talked about it after the game, where a lot of the players came up to him, the BYU players came up to him and said, wow, that number 7 is really good, number 7 being Michael Caputo. And again, he's a guy who has some versatility to his game, but I think in the back end, someone who can help be a traffic cop too. Now you have, if it's going to be Lubrin, Fagara, whoever it is along with them in those safety spots, a guy like Michael Caputo is going to be, I think, very helpful in making what I think can be a very good secondary be just that, if not great.
Like most teams, this one has more questions than answers, but that's why this matchup with LSU I think is so exciting, and people are looking forward to see if they can answer some of those questions.
Yeah, and it's interesting because LSU is going to have some questions too. They're going to have if they play 2 quarterbacks, one's a sophomore who played late and was pretty good, especially in the comeback win against Arkansas, and he did what he needed to do in the bowl game. But there's a true freshman behind him. Their top 2 receivers from a year ago are moving on, so they have a lot of young talent as well. But yeah, it goes back. You can get a lot of answers in that first game. It's these kinds of games are great if you win. If you lose, you regroup, but then you get ready to go play the rest of your season. But I think again, just as a fan, this is one that you really look forward to. It's a neutral site game in name only, so it's a road game for Wisconsin. But if you're going to, again, I think fans have wanted these showcase kind of games, and well, here it is.
You want to make J.J. Watt proud, don't they?
I would think.
They're in his backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be there this week, doing his thing, getting ready for the season with the Texans, and if they can find a way to slip him in there,
would that be nice?
That'd be good. Just a play or two.
Don't think it's going to work. No. Shh. That's the word. For Matt Lepay, I'm Mike Lucas. Thanks for watching Badger Breakdown.